Staying in France, the French president has told SABC News that developed nations should stop lecturing emerging economies about the climate transition. In an interview with Emmanuel Macron, he said that countries hard hit by climate change should be allowed to forge their own path to a clean energy future. The French leader was speaking at the closing of the Olympic Games, and he added that sustainability must be at the heart of the Olympic movement. He was speaking to our correspondent in Paris, Ross Cullen.
African countries are some of the most hardest hit by this. How can France, the European Union and other countries help African nations with their mitigation and adaptation policies?
The best example is probably provided by your country. Post-Glasgow COP, we launched what we called the JETP, the Just Energy Transition Program. And it's exactly framed and conceived as a partnership, as I mentioned. Meaning this is not just people lecturing African countries or Pacific countries or Asian countries to say, here is a path. No. What is your proposal and your project to reduce your CO2 emission? And we gather all the donors, all the partners around the table. And with South Africa, your country built this one JETP, so a program of transition, to reduce coal plants and CO2 emission, to deploy nuclear and renewables in your strategy, and with some financial requests. And we signed with President Ramaphosa, with Chancellor Scholz, myself, European Commission, President Biden, World Bank, IMF, and some other partners. I probably forgot a lot of them. But we signed a common text saying, okay, we put 1 billion in this program for South Africa. This is the best way to provide precisely such a just transition. And for me, the key point is exactly the motto of what we launched, and your president was, by the way, your presidents were present in this Paris Pact for People and Planet. 1 year ago here in Paris, we launched this 4 Ps, which is now chaired by a former African president, Macky Sall. In the 4 Ps, the key principles were very simple. Number 1, nobody has to choose between development and climate change. Because this is a dilemma of a lot of African countries, and this is why some of them were now questioning climate change, saying, okay, we are lectured by people who polluted a lot during the past decades, and they don't want us to develop, to have our own development. It's not fair. No, you don't have to choose. You have to deliver both. Second, you need much more public money. And third, you need much more private money. Fourth, you have to develop and decide for yourself a national path and to be respected. Because there is not, I would say, just one model being designed in Washington or Brussels or Paris or London. No. The model for each country is designed by the country itself. This is for me one of the best illustrations of this new partnership.
Thank you. And climate change was such an important part as well of the Olympics.
Definitely. Well. Because I mean, if we don't fix climate change issue for Olympic Games, it's sure that in a few years or few decades, it will be over. So it should accelerate our capacity to innovate and do much more.